Hi, John Morgan here, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. And well, this week I've got a little bit of a different show because I wanted to talk about something that's kind of loosely related to gardening, and that has to do with equipment maintenance, specifically your lawnmower. A lot of folks buy a lawnmower and tend to kind of ignore it. But you do need to do regular maintenance on your lawnmower and really all of your equipment. So this weekend, as you're going to see, I changed the oil in my lawnmower. But then, as you won't see because I didn't really cover it and it really would have made a better video, I changed the oil in my rototiller. But last year I didn't raise a garden, so my tiller had actually sat for almost 2 years without being used. And I went to fire it up, and the thing wouldn't start. So I had to start troubleshooting it. First of all, I knew the gas in it was probably bad, so I drained the tank, put new gas in it, still wouldn't start. I checked spark. It was making spark, so I knew that wasn't an issue, so I knew it had to be a fuel issue. So the next thing that I did was open the little drain on the carburetor bowl, made sure that the fuel valve was working. It was getting fuel to the carburetor. So that really left me with just one option, the carburetor itself. So I wasn't planning on it that day, but I ended up spending 2 hours taking the carburetor apart on my rototiller and fixing it. And it's really not that complicated to clean a carburetor and put it back together. I know it might sound complicated, but literally on that motor, there's just 2 bolts that hold the carburetor on, and the whole thing comes off. It's easy to take apart and troubleshoot. And well, I got the tiller up and running and got everything tilled. But prior to doing that, I mowed the lawn. And prior to mowing the lawn, I did my... for me, you need to change the oil about every 50 hours in my mower. And that just happens to be the exact amount of time that I usually spend per summer mowing. So, every spring, I change the oil first thing. So, let's jump right into changing the oil in my mower. Alright, so today I am right here outside of my garage, and what I'm working on is changing the oil in my lawnmower. It's not that hard, and to be honest, it's cheaper to do it yourself. So on my lawnmower, it does have a few little quirks that makes it harder to do. First of all, it has these little body panels that you have to remove to actually be able to get into both the oil drain on this side and then also the oil filter on the other side. And if you look at it, that is inset up in there really far, and it's a pain in the buttockus to get to. Another thing that I really don't care for on this mower is the oil cap. Yeah, it's just plastic. That is nuts. Another thing that I just finished up doing was changing out the fuel filter. I usually do that every time I change the oil. I got my new oil filter installed, and what I use instead of the John Deere brand is I just buy the equivalent Wix filter. This lawnmower, it's new, so this is its first oil change that I've done, and I don't know who put the oil filter on at the factory, but you're only supposed to hand tighten them, and I had to break out the old Tanya Harding to pop the old filter loose. I had to kind of whack on it to get it started spinning, because that's the other thing. With this guard right here, there's really no room to get like an oil filter wrench in there to break it loose. But got it one, and now it's time to put in my oil. And what I'm actually using, it's a Valvoline, it's a synthetic blend, high mileage. Where this is an air-cooled engine, it's going to run a little bit hotter. But also the main thing that I was looking at when I was buying this oil is the viscosity of it. And I don't even see where it's listed on here. But basically what I did is I matched up the viscosity of the John Deere brand oil. So if you're not worried about going with a specific brand, you can look in your owner's manual at like the viscosity amount and just look for that. Also in your manual, it'll have exactly how much oil your engine takes. And for mine, it just happens to be exactly 2 quarts, which is nice and easy to measure and add. Lastly, there is what to do with your used oil. And what I do is I drain my oil into this little tub, and then I have a larger container inside that I'll drain this into. And then once it's full, I take it for recycling. So most auto parts stores, they have oil recycling programs where you can drop off your oil to get it taken care of. Okay, so I got the oil changed, fuel filter changed, air filter changed, which I forgot to video, and now I'm ready to mow. But the last thing that I'm going to do is I actually keep a database of vehicle, mower, any equipment that I have, of maintenance that I do on it. And that way I'm able to keep track of costs, when the maintenance was done last, and all of that information. And that is lawnmower maintenance. I mean, it's pretty easy to do. Yeah, I mean, draining the oil and everything, it's not that hard. If you look it up in your owner's manual, it has all the information that you need. So, hey, Patty's joining us. So yeah, that was changing the oil in my mower. And yeah, I kind of felt like a mechanic this weekend because I came here to Bob's, did the spring color tour. Then that evening I went out, changed the oil in my truck. Then the next day I did the oil in my riding lawnmower. And then also the oil in my rototiller. I also added like gear oil. And then, like I said, took the carburetor apart and cleaned it. So yeah, a busy weekend, very mechanical weekend. The next thing that I want to take a look at before we jump into the greenhouse update for this week, which you gotta stick around for it. The greenhouse looks amazing right now, and it's only going to get more colorful from here on out. But I wanted to take a quick look at the weather. It is a little bit nippy out right now. It feels like we have the heat on here in the office. But yeah, it's 50 degrees out. But the main thing is the wind right now. We're having some insane wind gusts. And yesterday, those storms. Oh, my land. Last week, I was showing my nice little netting covers that I got for my raised beds. After last night, they are gone. In fact, one of them nearly took me with it. I was out there trying to tie them down when the storm with all the wind and hail hit, and it literally like dragged me partially across the yard. So, yeah, that storm was insane last night. And, well, yeah, right now it's 50 degrees out. It is cloudy, it's windy, and tonight we are looking at temperatures down around 40 degrees. So, not too awfully cold tonight. Wednesday, that is the night we're going to have to look out for, because it does look like it's going to dip potentially down to around freezing. So we're going to be kind of borderline, right around 30 degrees. It wouldn't surprise me if some of the northern counties in our area have frost advisories, and then some of the southern counties don't. So I think it's really going to depend on how the front moves through over the course of the next 24 to 48 hours. And then by the weekend, it looks like we're going to be warming back up. So even tomorrow, Wednesday, we're looking at 57 degrees. So it's just that night that's going to be chilly. And then Thursday, Friday is going to be downright toasty at 81. I might even wear shorts Friday. I don't know. But yeah. Yeah, Patty says, I heard it was called a supercell thunderstorm. And yeah, I knew that it was, like, it had that classic kind of anvil shape. Like, I could see the wall cloud coming. I was right out there in it as a hit. And luckily, I got, like, literally sprinted back to the house from the garden. And I got inside right as the hail hit. I got home a few minutes before my wife got home from work. And I was in such a dead sprint to get inside the house, I didn't even notice that my wife was sitting in her car. And it was hailing and windy and everything, and she rode it out sitting in the car because she pulled in like right as I was running into the house as a hit. So yeah, it was some crazy weather yesterday. And as I said, going into this weekend, the weather looks pretty nice. Let me jump ahead here. It does look like Saturday we might have a chance for some rain. And then Sunday we're looking back around the 60s. But, you know, that's so far in the future that it's subject to change. So something that I recommend is checking out our podcast, the Keep Growing podcast, if you want an up-to-date weekend forecast. I record it every Friday evening, and then it goes out at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. And I cover kind of the weekend and kind of looking forward the weather forecast. But I also cover all the gardening tasks for that week according to both the WVU extension office and also kind of the moon phase and a bunch of other almanacs that I look at. So check that out, and it's kind of, I gear it toward our specific region. So if you're here in the Ohio Valley, check out the Keep Growing podcast for both gardening tasks for the week ahead, and then also kind of an updated weekend forecast, just to kind of put you in the mood for getting out and working on the weekend, because I myself, I'm a little bit of a weekend warrior when it comes to gardening. And, well, that kind of brings me to our next thing, which is what's happening out in the greenhouse. We're kind of getting into that prime time where you can start planting stuff outside. If you're not afraid to run out and throw a bed sheet over a flower bed or something, you know, right now you can start planting flowers out. They might just need a little bit of protection. if we get a frosty night. But um, now they're saying like danger of frost is sort of ending kind of mid-April for our region. We still tend to say around Mother's Day just to be safe because, you always get those sneaky late frosts. Um, but if you're adventurous, you can go ahead and plant stuff right now. Especially containers. You can always take containers inside if you get a frosty night. So, with that being said, let's check out what we have growing in the greenhouse. If I can find it here. There it is. Hi, John Morgan here, and today I am out here in the greenhouse where we have a ton of finished product starting to grow. So, right behind me here, we have New Guinea impatiens. And then further down, we have flats of 4.5-inch pots, 32 count flats, baskets, pots, whole ton of stuff. So let's check some of it out. These are just starting to bloom and they are gorgeous. I mean, just look at that. Woo! Yeah. And just over on the other side, we have 4.5-inch pots. Now, these ornamental grasses, they got a little trim, so they look a little rough right now, but they'll fill out. They'll look nice. And then here, we have 4.5-inch pots of lemon coral, which they make a great spiller in mixed containers. Over on this side of the greenhouse, we have 32 count flats of begonias that are just starting to bloom. And over on, this is the opposite side of the greenhouse, we have even more New Guinea impatient baskets. We have these beautiful begonia baskets starting to bloom. And then, like I said, more New Guineas. And look over there. Little carpet of collar. Let's go check that out. Right here we have a pretty grand mix of petunias. Literally, it is a pretty grand mix. Which we have just a carpet of collar of petunias down through here. I'm loving kind of this pastel shade mix over here. Well, that is a quick look as the greenhouse starts to turn into a carpet of color. So I'll be out here over the coming weeks. This Thursday, I'll probably be doing a TikTok live out here. Of course, you can follow us on TikTok at Bob's Market. I go live every Thursday at some point during the day. So check that out. And well, until next time, keep growing. And that was a quick look at what's happening out in the greenhouse. And yeah, it is just beautiful this time of year. And the amount of hanging baskets that we have growing out there is just insane. Um, I know, oh, I got ready to turn around to look at my calendar, but hey, it's all green screen behind me. Um, I believe it's on the 24th, which is next week. There is a whole bus tour coming down from Belpre, and they're going to get to see all of those baskets firsthand. And by then, we should have a lot of color out in the greenhouse. So it's going to be a very, very photogenic tour for them. And well, that is all that I have for this week's episode of Bob's Live. And like I said in the video, I do go live on TikTok, and we're at Bob's Market on TikTok. Um, but you can find us there. I go live every Thursday at some point during the day. So it's not like Bob's Live where it's a set time at 5 p.m. every Tuesday. I just kind of do it whenever I get free time on Thursday. I'll go walk around the greenhouse for a few minutes and do a video and take questions. And, well, that is all that I have for this week. And, well, until next time, keep growing.